Hey guys, Andy Wood here, and I want to thank you for taking a few minutes to watch this video. I hope to keep it short, but if you've ever sat in one of my classes, you know that short is probably a relative term. Anyway, I want you to imagine something. Today, as I'm recording this, is the very first day of the fall semester at the University of Mobile. I want you to go back to the day that you showed up for the first time. And you started your classes, and you'd already been to Ramrush, and you'd been to all the stuff. And I want to ask you a question. What did you imagine when you showed up for your very first year that your ministry would be once you graduated and got back out into the real world or into church world, which is not the real world? But anyway, what did you think that was going to be like? Well, if you're like 95% of your peers, what you imagined during your first semester and the life that you're living now in ministry or wishing for ministry or looking for God to open the door for another ministry, whatever you're living now is completely different than what you originally imagined as you first started your college career with UM. That's the reason why a year ago I came up with an idea to try something new and different. You see, for 4 years, I've been working with you guys. I've been working with students who are pursuing a call to ministry, most of them in the area of worship leadership. And what I noticed is that once we get you through classes and once you graduate and we send you out into the world, you go with our blessing and you go with our sincere prayer and hope that you land where God has you and that you flourish in ministry. But the reality is it's a lot like throwing people to the wolves. And sometimes the wolves bite. And I've seen that, and I've had a heart to find a way to help students, graduates who are pursuing God's call so that you stay encouraged, so that you find the power to live the life, so that you, now that you're out there in the real world trying to apply the kinds of things we learned in the relational issues class or the leadership class or even the ethics class, that as you're trying to figure out how to put that into practice, boy, it sure might be helpful to have some coaching or some instruction or mentoring or a group of support around you. And so a year ago, I came up with an idea for a group, a mastermind group called the High Impact Ministry Group. We call it the HIM group for short. And we had some ideas, had a lot of big dreams and plans. Some of those didn't work out like I originally planned, but a lot of them did. But the core to this group was that we would get together online twice a month, regularly committed to supporting each other, listening to what's going on in your world, giving some instruction, giving some challenge and encouragement, giving support, giving feedback as needed, and just being there for people. The group had its ups and downs. We learned some things over the last year, but I'll tell you this, by the time we hit the end of May, when we closed up for that term, I believe that the people who were part of that group were closer. They were excited about a new year. They were excited about what God was doing in each other's lives. We've stayed in touch off and on with each other since, and it's been a tremendous asset and growth opportunity. So now we're at a place where we're starting the second edition, the second year of the HIM group. And I am personally sending this to you with the hopes that you might consider joining us. Now, there are a couple of things that we're going to do a little differently this year, and I'm going to tell you about that in just a second. But before that, let me just kind of address some other challenges and some other needs. One of the things we found out, and a lot of our group members live this out even while we walk with them through it, is that ministry can be a terribly lonely experience. You are out there in the real world. A lot of times, we've got one member in Alaska, another one was in Texas. People were scattered out all over the place, and they didn't have a strong social support network, and it can be rough. And so, even if you're in a big church surrounded with a whole bunch of people, that doesn't necessarily mean you have the closeness and the fellowship. Well, this is an opportunity to stay connected formally with a group of people that most of whom you already know, and even what you don't know about them, you'll grow to love and appreciate. And so that's important. Also, walking with people through interview processes, job change processes, the dreams that they had to fulfill ministry, watching God redefine what ministry is to some of them has been a powerful thing. And I think this group has been a tremendous support to the members while they were a part of that. I'm telling you, you're going to go through the same thing. And I'm also telling you that you have a lot to offer to other people. And this is why we're asking you to consider coming over here and helping us. So let me tell you a little bit about kind of how the group works, what it's about. We will meet together live twice a month via an online platform called Zoom. Many of you are already familiar with that. If you're not, it's a very easy to use platform. All our calls are recorded, so if you happen to miss one, though I don't see why you would ever want to do that, if you happen to miss one, there are ways to watch the recording, and if I remember to hit the record button. But anyway, to watch the recording and still benefit from it. In addition to that, we're going to have a private Facebook group where we can communicate with each other. And this year, we're going to do something in addition to that, and that is we're going to have a kind of a weekly discussion topic. We'll do it online on Facebook. And we'll have a weekly kind of a dialogue. It's free, or you're free to participate or not. But we're going to toss out some ideas and questions, have kind of a general theme for the week. But when it comes to the actual calls themselves, you help set the agenda. And so I'll send out a notice ahead of time and say, hey, what's going on in your world? What would you like to discuss? What kind of issues are you dealing with that you would like the group to discuss? And so we're definitely doing that this year. The group lasts for a very specific term. It's going to start in September. It's going to go through the end of May. And then we take a break for the summertime, and then we'll launch back again, I'm sure, next fall. Typically, the calls are about an hour and a half. We try to keep it to that to respect your time. We try to make it at a time when it's convenient for people. Right now, it looks like Monday nights are going to be the time. That's what we kind of landed on before everything was over last week. Now, the focus of the group, it's what it sounds like. It's what the name is, High Impact Ministry. How can you be used by God where you are to advance His kingdom? How can you overcome the resistance, the spiritual warfare you deal with? How can you confront the challenges of being stretched and matured as you grow in ministry? How can you deal with jerks that you have to work for? Yes, they still exist. How can you help serve and encourage someone else who may be going through similar things, even somewhere across the country? If you're like me and you're thinking, okay, so like, what am I going to get out of this? Well, here's my laundry list. Number one, you're going to get spiritual growth and accountability. We're going to challenge you. We're going to offer you some resources. We're going to challenge you to take some action steps along the way and just be there for you, just to ask, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do? Also, clarity. This is a big deal. One of the things that a lot of our group members had last year as they walked through was the need for clarity, the need to understand what God was saying, wisdom to make decisions, all those kinds of things. And so that's something that's very vital, even more so than you may realize right now. Also, encouragement. That's kind of a no-brainer, but just support, encouragement, and a loving, Christ-centered environment. You can come into this group and say anything, and it stays in the group. And you can vent, you can share, you can be vulnerable, and we create a safe place for you to do that. This is also a time for you to rediscover your why, your deepest values in ministry. Who are you really, and what has God called you to do? And how does that flesh out into a professional world? You'll get greater self-awareness and self-esteem. I think frankly, your health can improve. Deeper levels of friendship among people who get it, and just a strong sense of networking and community. You'll get some professional growth and development. We'll stretch you as a leader, give you a more robust leadership presence, and then just general support in the daily spiritual battles that you encounter. And we give you an outlet to share and even test drive some of the ideas and principles and things that God may be giving you. Shoot, if you've written a song, pitch it to us in the group. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to critique it maybe, or just to hear it and be blessed by it. We want to be that kind of support for each of you. Now, I mentioned the resources we're providing. There is an online private group on Facebook. I'm going to try. Last year I said I'm going to do a weekly podcast. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. I did 2 of them, and then it got swamped schedule-wise. So we're going to do some occasional podcasts. There may be some other resources that the group that we will provide for you. I'll give you some other opportunities as well as they come up. And I want to tell you, though, about, if you've listened this long, thank you. I want to tell you about something we're doing different this year that we're going to try. And one of the things that we've realized is that there is a different dynamic that takes place when we have graduate couples who are both in ministry at some level. And they have some different dynamics because in addition to the challenges of his ministry and her ministry and their ministry, there's also issues like marriage and figuring that out. 2 of our members actually got married over the course of the year last year. And so that creates some interesting dynamics. And so we're going to do 2 groups this year. At least we're going to try it. If I can get 5 couples who will say, hey, we're going to do a couples in ministry hymn group as well as an individual. Notice I didn't say single, I said individual. So if you prefer to be in an individual group by yourself, that's awesome. If you would like to do this with your marriage partner, or if you're engaged, we'll look at that too. So, but if you'd like to do that together and you all are willing to make the commitment together, we would love for you to be a part of that and to try this as an experiment. So basically, it's not the hymn group, it's the hymn groups. We're talking, well, it's a him and her group this year, as well as the individual group. Okay, so what does this involve in terms of commitment? Well, it takes 3 things. It takes your time, a little bit of your time, a little bit of your money, a little bit of your heart, a whole lot of your heart. Okay, so let's talk about that. Time. If you decide to be a part of this group, we're asking you to make a commitment to be here. All right. We want you, if it's group time, show up. We understand that there are times when you might have a conflict, something may happen. We get it. But we want you to be engaged. We want you to be engaged not just on the calls. We want you to be engaged with the Facebook group or the text group if we send out one or something like that. We are asking you to make a 9-month commitment of your time to help serve the needs of the other people in the group. Frankly, we need you. If you don't feel like you can do this for the purpose of time, if you don't have time or whatever, I understand that. But we're asking for that time commitment. It's not a lot, but it's consistent. So we really want to encourage you to invest that. Okay, second, let's talk about money. There's a small financial commitment to be involved. Last year, for the individual group, we charged $100 a month. That goes to help pay me. It helps provide some resources, helps pay for the Zoom account, some other things that are involved in the infrastructure of making this work. And so this year, we're discounting that. Instead of $100 a month, we're dropping it to $75 a month for those who participate in the individual group. For those who are interested in doing the couples group, we last year we did a kind of a couples discount of $150. We're dropping that to $100 this year to participate in the couples group. That's $100 a month. So that is something that you know what, it's worth it. It's worth the investment. And so I would really encourage you to take a look at that. We have had some people who are on church staffs that were able to take that out of their church budget. Others just made the sacrifice and did it and made the investment. And I think they will tell you that it was worthwhile. The third thing, and this is actually the most important thing of all, is we ask you to bring your heart. I want you to come into this as an intercessor. I want you to come into this group as an encourager. I want you to come into this group as a transparent, vulnerable disciple and follower of Jesus who's willing to receive encouragement and sometimes some coaching and mentoring, but also willing to give some of that encouragement as well. I want you to commit to pray for the people in the group as we commit to pray for you. Nobody should have to do this by themselves. And so we are committed to supporting you and helping you succeed in the ministry that God has called you to. Now, you probably have questions. I definitely want to talk to you. And so here's the next step. If you're interested or if you don't know but you have questions, text me back, email me, let me know what your interest is, And I will schedule a 30-minute phone conversation with you. Probably won't take the whole 30 minutes. Got a couple of things I want to ask you so that I can kind of help lay a foundation for this fall's group in terms of your goals, your ministry needs, and those kind of things, and find out how we can best serve you, because you set the agenda for this group. And so the next step is just let me know if you're interested. We're getting started in September. And so probably we'll skip Labor Day week and probably do the next week in September and go from there. But let me know if you may be interested, and then let's schedule a phone conversation where you and I can talk about whatever questions you may have or needs, okay? Thanks for taking a look at this. Think about it, pray about it, schedule a call with me, let's talk about it. Remember this, the individual group is limited size-wise to the first 15 applicants, and so once that group fills up, it's full, all right? And so take a look, let's have a talk. Give me all your questions, give me all your feedback, and we'll go from there. All right. God bless you guys. Hope to talk to you soon.